Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be going over my workflow for doing eyelashes with XGen Interactive Groom. And my starting point is I have my base mesh loaded in and I have my hair plate already set up. So if I go over to my hair plates and I turn on my eyelashes plate, it's just a pretty simple setup. And it looks like this bottom plate needs a little bit of work. So I'll fix that real quick. I turn my mesh to live surface. And I'm just going to use quad draw to place this a little bit better. So the eyelashes really aren't right up butting against the eye. They're a little bit further down. There's kind of like a lip, this flattened area, and then there's a plane change, and that's really where you want to place this plate. And you don't have to use a hair plate for this. You can paint directly on the surface of your mesh. You can put the description or the groom right on the mesh. But I have another tutorial about hair plates and why I use them. So, I mean, this is just my workflow. But you're more than welcome to just like select, turn soft select off, and then just like select a strip where your eyelashes want to go. All right, so these plates are placed where they need to be, and now I'm going to select them. Go to my XGen Interactive Groom and create Interactive Groom splines, and I'm going to call these eyelashes. And the rest of these I'll just fix or modify as we go. So this is what we're left with as a starting point. I think they look a little thin. Maya's freezing. And the first thing that I like to do is add a Groom Modifier. My workflow for usually all different types of hair descriptions are pretty similar. So if you've seen the other tutorials I've done, I usually start with guides. And then once you create the guide modifier, you actually have to go within the attribute editor and click create. And then this just gives you a base set of guides based on the groom as it exists currently. So I go into that and then go to your in guide base, click your density brush, and make sure you're in the interactive groom menu that you have this edit button turned on within your guide modifier. So now you can actually remove these guides. Back to the attribute editor, density brush, tool settings, make sure it's set to decrease, and then you can just paint these off. We're going to place these guides manually. Alright, so now back to the attribute editor, we're going to click on the place brush, and I'm just going to place these about equidistant apart all along here. Oops. And one more at the very end. And I have symmetry turn on, object X, and obviously if your character is asymmetrical, you're just gonna have to do both sides. Oops, what is going on here? Let's turn this guy off. H. Something's up. Huh. So it looks like my normals are either flipped or coming through the wrong way. What was it doing on this side? Same deal. Oops. Huh. Wow, that was weird. As soon as I clicked on them with my my brush, my comb brush, it flipped back to the right side. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe a normals issue. But all right, back to placing guides. There's there's workarounds for when it's buggy. Sometimes loading in your scene again will help if your description is not updating correctly. You load in your scene, save it, and reload it, and it'll start behaving again. Alright. Looks like all of these loaded in fine. Alright, so now what we're going to do is, these guys are way too short, we're going to lengthen those up. Go to your lengthen brush, and we're just going to flood it in increments of 0.1 until it's about the right size. And because the bottom lashes are usually a lot shorter than the top lashes, it's not going to be a uniform length. So we're just going to go till about the length of these bottom lashes. And that looks about right. You can always adjust those later on. So now I'm going to start with the bottom lashes. And you can separate these off into separate descriptions if you wanted to do the bottom lashes separate, but I like to keep it as simple as possible, and so that's why I just keep them as a single description. All right. I have no idea why this is not working. Unfreeze all, and all right. So the issue that I was having with my freeze brush is that the strength was low, was at 0. So make sure your strength of your brush is all the way up. So I'm freezing the top section of the lashes, and then I'm just gonna take my comb brush and just paint them out so they're kind of just going straight out. They kind of form like an arc. You kind of want them going perpendicular to where they are on the plate. And then I'm just gonna point them, like brush the ends and kind of just brush them down. And then I go back to like the root area and I just pull it back up a little bit. This gives like a nice little arc. Alright, and those I think came out about right. Sometimes the symmetry is a little messy, so like this second to last guy on the end here isn't really matching. So in that case, just turn symmetry off. And just make sure that they look all right on both sides. All right, select my freeze brush, and I'm going to invert the frozen, and I'm going to work on the top side, or the upper lashes. So pretty similar. I'm just going to start by, let me do Object X, get them roughly in the same position. Lower my brush size down a little bit. And while I'm doing this, I'll mess with my lengthen brush. So they get a little bit longer towards this end and a little bit shorter on the inside. And you want it to be relatively gradual increase. So I think that's good for now, and then I'll go back to my comb brush And I'm just gonna pull them down. The top lashes kind of go almost straight out. That's why the lashes on this side are a little bit less visible, because they're coming, usually if you're front facing towards a face, these are angled outwards and a little bit longer, and these are almost coming straight towards you, so they're a little bit harder to see. Alright, I think that's about right. And I'll turn on the body so you can see a little bit better. And I'll turn the plate off. And I'll turn the guides off. So let's start working on our Groom Modifiers. First, let me give it the standard hair material. Oops. So we can see a little bit better. And that didn't really help too much. Let me make them a little bit thicker. Let's take these up to like 3, 5. And turn on tube shade. Get on Arnold. Change this to thick from ribbon. And then I adjust the width ramp so it's kind of tapered a little bit on both ends. And it's looking a lot better. Let's go down to the eyelash base, and I'm going to up this to like 3 maybe. And because the bottom lashes are a lot more sparse, I'm going to have to paint a density map. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to turn my eyelash plate back on. And under density mask, you click this little brush icon. I'm just going to call this eyelash density mask. I'm going to say this is a JPEG. 2048 should be plenty of space. And I'm going to save this under textures, hair density maps, select, create. All right, and make sure you have UVs on this guy. Otherwise, you won't have anything to paint on. All right, so I'm just going to go in with a solid color and my tool settings. So if everything is white right now, I'm going to go probably like, I don't know, a third of the way up with a solid brush and just paint the bottom lash plate. Alright, that looks good for now. You can always mess with these values later. Alright, now let's start adding the modifiers. So, the first modifier, clump. The eyelashes, you know, they tend to clump together. But we need to mess with this a little bit. Let's go to clump. Let's turn down the clump to like, I don't know, 8. And we'll turn the density up to like 3. A little bit better. And then on top of the clump, we'll add a noise modifier to break it up a little bit. And that's a little too strong, so we turn down the magnitude to like 0.3 about. They still look a little thin. Not density-wise, but like the individual strands of hair. So I'm gonna up this to 4. Maybe 5. And you don't want to overdo it. Obviously, if you're doing a female character and she has mascara on or something, you want to dramatically thicken up the lashes and lengthen them. But these are just kind of a base to work off of. Let me turn off that plate, go back and look. Make sure there's no clipping. Sometimes these upper lashes will clip into the lid. And I think we're good. So I think this about covers it. This is, you know, pretty much my standard workflow. I don't go crazy with the modifiers, but you can add a second clump modifier if you'd like. But this is my workflow for eyelashes, and hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions about what I went over, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys.